Welcome to Investor Guys Podcast. I am Kevin Mills, and this handsome guy here is Bill Barnett. How you doing, Bill?
I am doing excellent, my brother. How are you?
Doing great. This weekend we went out to Lake Okeechobee and hung out there a little bit and had some lunch. But other than that, I've been hard at work because we've got this upcoming event coming in November, and I have just been
excited about that.
Doing as much as I can to try to get ready for that. And I'm excited as well, because honestly, it's not just the event. This is like one of the very few events that we've been able to do where we're actually going to be able to have people and everything else through this entire year.
What a concept.
What's that?
What a concept.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about getting back to Cleveland, and we're going to do it the week before Thanksgiving, which reminds me, if you want to bring your son up or sons, you're welcome to join me and my family for Thanksgiving. We're going to stay there for Thanksgiving because I've got family there. You're welcome to join us. So I'm excited about being there, during that time of the year as well. And then just getting back, and I love being in Cleveland just because of the opportunities, but it's an area that I spend a lot of time in. It's a family, I have family there. It's a great city, and I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. My wife is looking forward to it. I've got family that just moved back to Cleveland because they like Cleveland. They're looking forward to it. So I'm excited about it as well.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yes. And Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Football Hall of Fame is just south in Akron. So, and the Inventors Hall of Fame is also just south in Akron. There was a couple things I wanted to talk about really quick before we get into the show. You've been looking at properties in Cleveland lately. And real quick, what are your thoughts on those?
Shocking that you can get property as inexpensively as you can that will pull the rent dollars that it will from Section 8, and some of them in amazing condition. Just really been impressed with the properties I've been finding so far.
Now, one of the things that we're going to talk about today is going from 50% ROI and even 75% ROI, because the presentation I put together is both. 50% and 75% ROI on just a $50,000 investment. How long it will take you to get to $1 million cash in your pocket every single year. That's cash profit in your pocket. Now, a lot of people, you say 50% a year and you say 75% a year, and they just don't get it. Okay. Now, Cleveland is a market that bears those numbers out easily. Okay. But I want to put a couple of things into context for you. A lot of projects that Bill does when he's doing flips, he makes 30% profit. Okay. If he's doing, let's say he's only investing 50,000. Now he's probably investing more than 50 on his flips, but to use the math numbers. Okay. If he's using $50,000 and he's doing 2 flips a year with that $50,000, and he should easily be able to do 2 flips. Okay. He's making 60% a year. Or sorry, he's making 30%. No, he's making 60% a year. Okay. 60% a year is going to put you right in the middle of this PowerPoint presentation that we're going to show you in a minute, which is 50 to 75. So it is easy to do 50 and 75% return on investment every single year. In Cleveland, I'm getting 50 to 80, sometimes even 100% and over annual returns on my investment. But what is impressive is how the numbers come together. You guys are going to be surprised at the kind of wealth you can build in just a handful of years with putting your nose to the grindstone, reinvesting your money in your portfolio, and seeing things through. Are you guys ready to do this? Are you ready for this, Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody just remember, we are talking cash on cash return. That's the thing that you stay focused on, and it makes the numbers a lot easier to follow, and it makes it where you get it. And I had told Kevin this story before, where we were in the shoe business growing up. My dad had a small chain of shoe stores in Alabama, and we would buy a lot of stuff where stores were going out of business, and we'd go in and buy all their remaining inventory after they had gone for 2 or 3 weeks or a month doing their going out of business sale. So we really would buy all the scraps. Well, when we go in and buy them, we would buy them for a nickel or a dime a pair. And he'd go in and just make an offer on, walk through the store and say, I'll give you a dime for everything you got. And I was shocked at how many people said yes. Well, we get the stuff loaded up, we head it back to our warehouse, and I'm like, how do we make any money on this, Dad? This is all junk stuff. And he said, well, it's all about your return. We're going to sell these for $1. And I'm thinking, okay, so we sell 1,000 pair of them. It's $1,000. That's nuts. We can't live on that. That's what's going through my brain at the time. But what Dad was trying to teach me was if we bought them for $0.10, we're selling them at tenfold what we paid for them. If we bought them at a nickel, we're selling them for 20 times what we paid for them. And in doing that, what would happen is we would run these sidewalk sales where we would sell them literally for $1, and we'd run thousands of pairs of shoes, nothing more than $1 in these big newspaper ads back when the newspaper was a big deal. And they were by far the biggest weekends we ever had in our stores because of the number of people that came out and the number of people that would end up going inside to the store. Because we did this outside, we call it sidewalk sale. We do these outside, but the number of people that would end up going in the store and buy from our regular inventory, and the numbers were just nuts crazy. And it took me a while to start to figure out and to understand when you've got a great percentage of return, that's when you start to understand the power of compounding. And that's what Kevin's going to talk about. And that's the numbers we're going to show you here. So I didn't mean to.
And it is about percentages, and really quick to just even heap a little bit more on. I used to live in California, and I used to have people say, "Oh, I just made $50,000 on this flip that I did. I made 50." They spent $700,000 to do the flip. Okay, Bill has flips in the Dallas area that he can get for $150,000 and make $20,000 on. It's only $20,000. $20,000 is less than $50,000. But when you put the numbers together, if Bill had spent $750,000, his return would have been greater than $20,000. It is percentages. And that's what we have to understand is the math and how it applies to all this. Let's go ahead and get started with this really quick.
Let's do this. We're past our first break. We'll come right back with more Investor Guys podcast with Kevin and Bill. Hang with us. We'll be right back, and we'll start doing the numbers.
See you in a minute. And we are back, and we were just getting ready to start a presentation before we went to the break, and I'm going to go ahead and jump right into that while we have some time to get started, because this is going to take a little bit of time, because we're going to go over the numbers in detail, and I want you guys to absorb this. And for those of you listening to the podcast on iTunes or whatever it is you're listening to, take a chance to sit down with a piece of paper and a pencil and go over these numbers with us while we're talking, or come back and watch the actual video that we're putting together. This one is 50K to Millionaire. Now, essentially, if you take $50,000, you reinvest your proceeds from that $50,000 every year back into your real estate portfolio with performing assets at the same rate. So we're going to say at $50,000, obviously, or sorry, 50%. You can obviously go a little bit higher. You can obviously go a little bit lower. But in general, if you're putting it in at 50%, these are the types of returns it's going to take at 50. And I also have slides that's going to show how long it's going to take at 75%. And I've literally laid it out for you year by year by year. So with a $50,000 investment, okay, your year one return at 50% is $25,000. So reinvesting that into year two. And I'm not going to go over all this every single year, but I want to explain this year by year really quick. We put 25,000 back in. Our total invested is $75,000. Okay. This is $75,000 in our actual equity that we have invested, not counting our time equity and not counting the equity that our tenants are paying into our own mortgages. Okay. This is growing our portfolio while it's going to grow our income eventually. Year two, we're looking at 112, 500,000 invested. So look at this jump here already. Between year one and year two, we started off with a $50,000 investment, and we are already at more than twice that in just 2 years. I'm going to jump all the way up because you guys can see these numbers. You can come back. Year 10.
Well, I want you to hang for a second and explain to people how we're getting that return. So when we take 50,000, we're not investing $50,000 into a single family house, going to go rent it to a family and make, maybe we're getting $1,000 a month for it, and minus all of our fees, we're going to make $300. That's not what we're doing with $50,000. So you want to break down how we invest that 50?
Now, so in this particular situation, we're coming up on Cleveland. Okay. Now, in this particular situation, $50,000 we could use as leverage to purchase 5 different properties. Okay. Our return on investment after we've paid our taxes, after we've paid our insurance, after we've paid our property managers, after we've paid maintenance on the property, after we've paid everything, our return on investment is going to be 50%. Okay. So on that $50,000 that we've invested into 5 properties, and this is using a Cleveland scenario, that $50,000, we're getting a 50% return. Now, the math works no matter what. If Bill's getting a 50% return on his flips, the math still works. As long as you're putting it back into your portfolio and reinvesting it, the math works no matter what your strategy is. The strategy that we're going to be working on is one that I love. I literally week in and week out use this strategy in Cleveland. And this is one that Bill is also looking in and starting on because it's just that great. So year 10, if we jump to year 10, what is this return? Read this for me, Bill.
$961,083.97 cash flow.
Per year in your pocket, pre-tax cash flow. That's pretty close to $1 million, right? $1 million every year in your pocket. If you can just reinvest your income for 10 years, that's almost $1 million that you're taking out. Now, that's impressive in and of itself. But I want you to look back here to year 9. What is your investment in equity in your portfolio? Just your cash investment in equity in your portfolio is almost $2 million. That means the value of the property that you have in your portfolio is nearly $2 million, could be even more. And it's going to be more because your tenants have paid down the mortgages on these properties. And there's even a very real possibility that in that 10 years, the market value went up on those properties. So this is a very conservative number for the value of your portfolio in just 10 years. So if you think about it, your net worth is $3 million plus in just 10 years from a $50,000 investment. That is absolutely unbelievable. And that's the power of math and compounding. Yep. Let's look at that if you're getting a 75% return. And you can get a 75% return easily in Cleveland. Like I said, I'm getting 80 and 100. I'm not going to tell you to count on it. Count on 50% because that's easy. Okay. Yep. But let's go over these numbers because this is even more impressive. Let's just go ahead and jump all the way down. Whoops, where'd we go? All the way down to the bottom, year number 7. Where are we? We are just over $1 million cash flow in your pocket every single year, pre-tax cash flow from just putting in an extra 25,000, or sorry, just getting an extra 25% on your 50,000. Now, what is your equity?
Yeah, 1.5.
1.5. 1.5, and your cash flow is just over $1 million, and literally took you 7 years to do. Now, this is investing $50,000. Bill, could you come up with more than $50,000 if you thought that you could do these types of returns?
Absolutely.
So what would happen if you invested 100,000? We're doubling the numbers, right? The scenario that I tell students to think about is, let's say at the end of year 7, what's your number? 1,104,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take that $1 million, pocket it, start being a millionaire. $1 million a year, that makes you a millionaire easy. Okay, $1 million a year, go out and buy yourself a boat, go out and buy yourself that Maybach, go out and buy yourself whatever it is you want. Take that extra $100,000 and reinvest it into the strategy. Remember, in 7 years, you made over $1 million, okay, from $50,000. How much are you going to make in 3.5 years from $100,000? You're going to be back at these numbers, just cut them in half.
Yep.
So in 3.5 years, you take that $1.1 million and you take that other $100,000 off. You're now making $2 million in your pocket. Okay, $2 million in your pocket. It's just been over 10 years. $2 million in your pocket, and you're taking that money and you're putting it back into the same strategy. Before you know it, you're making $4, $5, $6, $7, $10 million a year just by shaving that extra money off and reinvesting it back into your portfolio.
We're going to take a quick break here. We're going to come back and tell you a little bit more about exactly what we're doing with these funds. Hang around with more Investor Guys podcast. We'll be right back.
We are back, and I hope you guys are revived from those numbers. And again, if you are listening to us on iTunes or any of the other podcasts where you're not seeing those numbers, sit down and do the math, or come back, join us on our website, investorguyspodcast.com. Watch the video, okay? See the numbers for yourself, run the math for yourself, make sure that it all jives. But people don't seem to realize, Bill, how easy it is to be a millionaire and the kind of wealth that they can command quickly and easily by simply investing in real estate. And it doesn't take that much.
Yeah, and so much of it is simply understanding the rules of the game. And yes, I'm talking about the rules of real estate, but I'm also talking about the rules of compounding interest. When you get through your noggin, the power of compounding and the ability to, that very first year when you're saying, hey, you know, I'm investing $50,000 and I'm going to make 25. A lot of times some people are like, well, you know, that's not really going to change things. That's because they're not thinking it through. That's an incredible rate of return, 50% rate of return. But then when you roll that 25 into the next year and you start seeing the compound effect that's going on here. So not only are your tenants paying down your balance on your property, so they're increasing your equity for you, but also we're buying more and more and more properties. So when we take $50,000, we're not going out and buying one property. What we're doing is we're buying nothing but multifamily properties, duplexes and higher, and we're buying those with just the minimum 20% down payment. So we can take $50,000 now, and if we're buying a $50,000 property, which in Cleveland and a lot of other markets, especially Rust Belt markets, easy to find properties that are in this value that'll create $1,000 a month per side. So when you're looking at I'm taking this $50,000 property, I'm gonna need 20%, that's 10 grand. Well, if I've got a $50,000 available investment, whether it's out of my retirement account, whether it's just cash that I have, doesn't matter where it's coming from, that $50,000 means that I'm gonna be able to buy 5 duplexes or 10 units as opposed to buying one single family house. And that's where you really start to push the envelope on compounding and growth.
Right. And if you want it to happen faster, invest more. You
Yep.
know, it's really that simple. And what we're going to do another show on, and we talked about this before, is OPM and using OPM for the strategy. But leading into this event that we're going to be doing in November, we're going to talk more and more about strategies that you're going to be able to have in your briefcase when you come to this event or when you want to practice this on your own. Okay. But we're going to talk about OPM. Imagine the types of returns. You can't even do the math because you're using somebody else's money, okay? But the types of returns that you're able to get when you're taking somebody else's money and you're putting it into these strategies that are seeing a 50% return on investment, your return is even greater because you didn't put any money into it yourself. In order to calculate that, when we do that show, we're gonna have you invest $1. Okay, so that you can see what your actual types of numeric returns are. This is something that Bill and I know, and it's like we're like preachers in a church. Okay, we keep trying to tell you, save your soul, invest in real estate, because we have seen it. We know the power of interest, the power of math, and the power of investing in real estate when you know what you're doing. And that is why we are literally head pastors for the Church of Real Estate.
I've been called a real estate evangelist before.
Yeah. And it's not a bad thing. It's really a matter of, I'm going to change the topic just a little bit. We're still on track, but I want to change the topic. You watch a lot of real estate gurus, and what they want to do is they want to show pictures of them standing in front of an airplane and standing in front of cars and standing on a boat and you know, talking about the real estate empire, but they're not giving you numbers. They're not giving you formulas. If NASA is going to take a rocket up into space and somebody says, you know, this particular juice is going to be better than the juice you've been using, NASA's not going to just say, okay, well, that's got a flashy package, let's just go ahead and use it. NASA's going to say, okay, well, why is this juice better? Let's analyze this juice. Show me the formula for this juice and tell me why it's better. That's what Bill and I do. We're not just sitting smoke and mirrors saying, hey, look at my car. Hey, look at my plane. Hey, look at my boat. Hey, look where I live. These are the numbers. And if you can get it through your head, these numbers are going to get you that boat that you want, not the boat that Bill or I have, the car that you want, not the car that Bill or I have, the house that you want, not the house that Bill or I have. That is where the power is. That is where you are able to say, hey, you know what? I need to do this. I need to get started. I need to get off my butt and get started, because every day I don't act is a day I lose. It's a day wasted. So I just showed you how you could make $1 million in 10 years from a $50,000 investment. If you had started that 10 years ago, you'd have $1 million in your pocket right now every single year. In 10 years, are you going to be saying, you know what, Kevin and Bill told me how I can make $1 million a year, and I didn't do it? Okay. Where do you want to be in 10 years? Where do you want to be in the next week or two?
Yeah, and you start looking at, you know, I always ask people to take a minute, look back on where you were 5 years ago. And what are you going to do different today going forward for the next 5 years from what you did the last 5 years? Because if you don't change your behavior and what you're doing, then what's going to happen is you're going to be in the same spot 5 years from now. This is a great way to change the course of your life and the course of your family's life. So make sure you have a chance to join us. Jump over to the InvestorGuysPodcast.com, InvestorGuysPodcast.com. Read all about the event. Join us in Cleveland. You can get signed up right there. And Kev, great show, brother.
I'm going to encourage everybody, go check out our website, because what Bill and I are doing in the next couple of weeks is we're going to be adding resources there. We're going to be adding workshops. We're going to be adding a lot more to the website. So
Yep.
this should be a place that you should feel like whenever you've got a minute, you need to go to investorguyspodcast.com. You need to see what we've got going on. You need to see what you can take advantage of. We're going to have workshops that are free. We're going to have workshops that you can pay for. We're going to have resources that you can take advantage of. We're going to just as much information as we can packed into that. And part of the drive for that is because we've been locked down on coronavirus, and we want to be able to get out there. We want to be able to help you guys, hold your hands as much as possible. We can't do that because of coronavirus, but we're going to do that through our website. It's taken us a while to get it done because we thought this was going to be over, but it's not a bad thing to have it there. Even if this is over, it's still going to be there. InvestorGuysPodcast.com. You're going to be able to start seeing the shows there within the next couple of days. We look forward to seeing you there. We look forward to seeing you here. Bill, have an awesome week. And the rest of you, happy investing. We'll see you guys soon.
See you, bye.